Welcome back, YouTube. As you can see, 60 model Buick, looking beautiful. We're getting real close to being done with this one. It's getting really exciting. There's just the last 10% takes 80% of the time. Anyone that's built a car knows how frustrating this can be and how time consuming it is. We're gonna knock it out. 30 minutes a day, hopefully. Get some of these little tinker projects done. Maybe, this may be a 1 week video, this may be a 2 week video, just as I have time. We'll see. First things first, we gotta get the windows working. Especially the vent windows, and let me show you. So unlike your old C10s, like that thing, these vent windows shouldn't be able just to push them open. Like, you remember those trucks that have like a latch, you undo the latch, you push it open, it stays, right? Well, no, not with these cars. These cars actually have a crank style regulator with this, look at this little cute crank. What had happened was, I would turn the crank and it would just spin the thing, the handle and the mandrel in and out of the regulator, and the window wouldn't actually move. I went ahead and took all this apart because it was really hard to see. It's all behind this assembly. Let me show you what it looks like. As you can see here, we have the vent window regulator. Just to show you, the handle would go on there. We would spin this, and you can see this is the post that the vent window would be on. Had one little 7/16 bolt right there. You spin this, let's see, we'll go this way. Oh, and you see the post turn. That's what's going to open and close our vent window. The problem was, when we would spin this, the worm gear was just trying to push out of the back. Now this is supposed to have a plate across the back that would hold this worm gear in. 3 holes, 2 to be riveted in, which is, this is just a cast pot metal body, obviously not very strong, and the rear plate just popped off of it, now allowing this worm gear just to fall out, not move our window, not do its job properly. Luckily, this is the same as a Chevrolet, Impala, Biscayne, Bel Air, etc. This Buick stuff, there's no information. The Chevrolet stuff, the few things that do cross over, I found an article how to repair these. At first I thought I'd just buy some before I really looked into it. These regulators are $165 a piece. Nope, too cheap for that. Let's see if we can figure out how to fix them. The good old interwebs is what enlightened me to this rear plate being missing. Now on the other side, we had found the rear plate. What happened to this one? Who knows? This is the, so this was the driver's side. This is the passenger side. I went ahead and fixed it. Look, like I said, this is what the rear plate looks like. Found it in the bottom of the door. Where it's supposed to be riveted, I just ground that down, ran a drill and tapped it for 1032, put some nice little stainless buttons, obviously with anti-seize, put everything back together. Now, oh, first, obviously, cleaned everything out, packed it with some red and tacky. Look at that. Look at that function. Nice and smooth. Or hold on, here we go. Here we go. Hold on. Ooh, easy now. Look at that. Oop. Like butter. Just a quick explanation of how to fix it. Obviously, clean everything out. We wire brushed everything, rinsed it out with some brake parts cleaner, dried it off, put some red and tacky in there. Actually, back up. First, grind, drill, tap, because you don't want your chips, you don't want any grinding dust or drilling, tapping chips to get in there. Clean everything out, pack it with grease, put it back together, vent window fixed. With this side not having one, we just whittled one out of some 1/8 inch. Use that as a template, or you can simply just measure this distance, split it, that'll be your center hole. Whoop, right there, good to go. All right, end of another day here at the shop. Trying to get our 30 minutes in because these cars not gonna build themselves. Can't afford to pay someone else to do it. Here we are. Today's project, I've tinkered on a little bit. We're gonna catch up. show you my ideas and thoughts behind this. Today's project, we need a way to activate the brake lights. Factory, this is how the brake light switch worked. We've got our stock master cylinder here. Oh, master booster. This little guy right here, this was our brake pressure switch or brake light switch, and it worked off of pressure. So as you depress the brakes, the piston would come up, increase the pressure in the system, obviously, and it would activate the brake lights via that plug. When I went back with the new dual master cylinder, I decided not to put that inline pressure switch. Two reasons. One, it's just another failure point in the system. Actually, really kind of three failure points if you think about it, because you have to tee it in, right? So you have the incoming, that's a failure point, the out, that's a failure point, and then the sensor screws in the top of that T, another failure point. That's reason number one. Reason number two, kind of just forgot about it, but I probably wouldn't put it in anyway. And now that we have all of our lines ran and everything's nice and pretty, I really don't want to splice it back into this system. So what's our solution to that? This little guy right here. Here we have a 1970-ish C10. I think a lot of other cars and trucks took this same part. Just an electric brake light switch. It works by depressing this button and the brake lights are off. And when the button's out, brake lights are on. It's electrical, plastic, threaded, jam nuts. It's going to be our somewhat easy, simple-ish solution. Use this on a bunch of different applications and it works really well. Just got to figure out how to mount it, right? Whoop! That's where this little guy comes in. Went ahead and whittled this up on my lunch break. It's just some 1/8 inch by 1 inch, yeah, 1/8 by 1 flat stock that we've been to 90 there. We welded here. Look at those welds, by the way. Every once in a while, you even surprise yourself. I'll show you how this is going to fix up under the dash, how we're going to make this our solution. Here we are up under the dash. Kind of walk you through how I came up with this. Obviously, we have our brake pedal, brake booster mounting studs, a couple here, a couple up there. We have to figure out a way to keep that switch normally closed, and then when we open it, the brake lights will come on. What I did is I utilized this stud right there, took and made this bracket. We'll go over that stud, and then when it's tight, it'll depress the button like so. Boop, like that. And then whenever we press the brakes down, that'll release the button. As for the wiring aspect of this conversion, the two wires are right here, right by the master cylinder. Had a funky little plug, when give that the good old snip snip. A little solder, a little heat shrink, a couple random pieces of wire I had. I get this stuff by the spool. Just picked a couple colors I liked and put together. This will get loom once I know everything works properly. Don't forget your rubber grommet. Don't pay attention to the other purple and gray that goes that way. Now, we'll catch up on that in a second. Always rubber grommet. Goes through the firewall. Comes back inside. Loops around right here. Couple of female spades with some heat shrink. Ta-da! Now, if everything works correctly, you should see the brake lights light up. Oh yeah! You gotta love it when a plan comes together. Finally found a little time to tinker on the Buick again. Got a little project I want to knock out today. Maybe 2 projects. Let's not get over ambitious. Whenever you think a project's going to take about an hour, go ahead and plan on 2 to 3. It's just part of cars. This project, I'm not totally convinced is the solution. We're going to try it. I'll explain what I'm talking about. As you can remember, installed our airlift management system here, and this is the manifold. Well, I have installed a bunch of manifolds from Airlift, AccuAir, AVS, and I've just kind of mounted them however I wanted to. But with this kit, they said that you had to mount it above the compressors, which obviously I didn't do. And also, like, imagine this piece of paper is the manifold. Where the air lines come out on this side, they want it to be level or pointed down. And the reason being is they're afraid that water will accumulate in these lines and sit up against the valves and cause corrosion. With that being said, will this ever be a problem? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I don't want to not do it. Now that I've seen it in the instructions, something will happen. That's just my luck. And it won't be that bad to fabricate. We're gonna build like a platform basically, reuse the holes we already have. Won't be too big a deal. I'll walk you through just this kind of little idea of how I'm gonna do it and a little way I'm gonna dress it up, I think. It's gonna be pretty cool. So we have the manifold propped up like this with a jack stand to kind of get an idea of where this thing wants to live. Now, I really don't want to start moving my compressors, redoing all of my airlines, moving the tank. I don't want to get into all that. I want to set this somewhere where it's above the compressors and it has a flat or downward angle like they want. It really kind of needs to live about right there. We got clearance to the top. We got a little bit of downslope. I think that'll be fine. But how do we do this and make it look cool? Well, it just starts with some poster board, some masking tape, and a dream. I think we're gonna make some little mounts kinda like this. So you can see I've been a flange on the top, and that'll get a hole for the mounting point there. And I got a little flange here, which will go to this back wall right here, most likely some nutserts. And this thing isn't terribly heavy, and it doesn't have a lot of stress on it. I think it'll be totally fine. Put this here, and we'll make this out of some 18 gauge. Golly, I need to clean this floor up. Make this thing out of some 18 gauge. Maybe put a bead roll in it, little something here, speed holes. I don't know. We'll see what I come up with. Like I said, took some 18 gauge, or a template, whittled that out. Transferred our bend lines where our flanges are going to be, side on the top, and just kind of freestyled a little design around here. I thought about doing like dimple dies, speed holes, whatever you want to call them. It just doesn't match this car. There's nothing racy speed hole-ish on the thing. Didn't make sense. So what we're going to do is go around this perimeter here I've drawn with a step die and just create a nice little flange where it'll look something like this. Ta-da! Pretty cool. And when you're doing two pieces like this, I like to always be sure to trace the patterns, I guess you say a mirror image of each other, because if you don't, you'll end up with two of the same side. I don't know whether this is going to be the outside. Should this be the outside? Or should it be the inside? Like, do we want the dimple in or the dimple out? Oh, we can think about it. I'm going to zip around this one real quick. Don't mind our little freestyle stuff here. It's just trying to figure out how it goes. You check this out. We'll zip this one out, get a little spray paint. And by the way, went ahead, you can probably see, went over these things with the DA with some 320 grit. Yep, 320 grit. It's easier to get the little bit of surface funk off of them while they're still flat versus trying to sand around these edges. So now that when we get unrolling it, we just take a little alcohol, wipe the Sharpie off, start rattle can restoration this guy. I like to start in straightaway. I'm lining up the edge of the die with pretty much the center of the line, more or less. You can do this with just a regular old Eastwood run-of-the-mill bead roller, and I've done that for years. Luckily, our friend Tracy lets us borrow this thing that makes our life so much easier. Just kind of trace your way around. It's important on the corners, you just, as it's rolling, you roll the material. That way there's no jagged like start-stop lines. Obviously watch your fingers. something like that. Now I think it probably needs another maybe half a revolution of tension on it. Get it just a little deeper. Gives you the general idea. You can go back over it again. You can always go with more pressure. Obviously, you can't really take the bend back out of it, not with this machine. It's just easier to sneak up on it. Yeah, there we go. You can see it's created a little more dramatic roll. I think it looks better. Get off of here. There we go. Just like that. All right, the pieces we made yesterday. Got those painted up. Those things are looking nice. Now time to use our permanent fasteners. I like to, for temporary or mock-up, I like to use some self-tappers. Boop, boop, kind of like that. Easy get in and out, kind of moves the process along faster, and once you're happy with it, we can go back and put a permanent fastener in it, kind of like we did on this side, which these are still loose, but I'll show you the process. You'll take your, I think these are the quarter headed ones. Take your little self tappers out, and not only does it hold it in place, it also acts as basically a center drill. Get out of there. Get those out of the way. Get our handy dandy jack stand here, because we don't want it holding all this weight and getting funky with us. There we go. So, in case you're not familiar, nutserts are these little guys. Some people call them threaded inserts. It's all the same thing. As you can see inside, it's got threads and it's got a crush section. Use a special tool like this, and I'll show you, it threads on here, and when you squeeze this trigger, it pulls it and it crushes this little section around our sheet metal. Once it's in there, now you have a threaded insert. It's a lot easier, you know, in case, or instead of having like a nut on the backside, like this would be a booger bear to get to put a nut on it. Anything that's not super heavy, this works just fine. Every nutsert has its corresponding drill size. We're using 1032s here, which takes a 9/32 drill bit. So we'll just open up our holes a little bit. Oh, come here, give it back. Whew, got a sharp drill bit there. All right, holes drilled. Nutserts, they go in. Squeeze it, it pulls it in a little bit. Turn it in a little more. Get it where it wants to cooperate here. And you just squeeze it until it stops squeezing. Unscrew the tool, just like that. Get a little threaded insert. Once that's in there, we can take our little 1032s, thread them right inside. Easy peasy. Got all the 1032 hardware in here, little button stainless action. Looking nice, good and sturdy. Good to go. Once again, that gets us above the compressors and a slight downward angle. Shouldn't be a problem. If you'll notice, where it was at before is this little bracket here I made and welded on. And I mean, we could leave it. It would look okay. And now you also have to think all this we're going to do in like a Raptor bed liner eventually, so just excuse this for the moment. Just trying to get through all the like fab work before we put the nice finished bed liner in. Anyway, with this, what do we do? Well, this is what I came up with. Took a little sheet metal bracket, bent it up. This bar here, it was already tapped 1/4 20, so we'll install this. With that installed, I started digging around on eBay a little bit. I found another trunk emblem that has, we're gonna call it some patina. Might get to touch this up, maybe not, I don't know. Take this, a little double-sided tape, and we use the old eagle eye here for center. Something like that. Boom. Now you kind of have a floating-ish Buick emblem in the middle. I don't know, I think it looks pretty sweet. Once again, when everything's bed-lined, everything looks nice and fresh in here. Be a nice, tasteful way to dress up this Void and add a little character. I don't know, I'm happy with it. And that's it. That's all we have time for this week. Got some good progress done. Really, for being honest, this is kind of actually about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks worth of just spare time, working on it as we go. Like we talked about before, 30 minutes a day. If you can squeeze that in, 30 minutes usually turns into an hour, which usually turns into an hour and a half or two. If we can get that squeezed in, we can get projects like this done eventually. Thanks for sticking around. Got some more stuff to do to it. Got some stainless coming back that got straightened and polished. Just got a distributor back from Nailhead Matt, rebuilt that for us. A couple little odds and ends, tinkering stuff. Maybe make some decisions on some interior soon, we'll see. But anyway, until next time, we'll see you.